How's it going, everyone, and welcome to round 2 of my F2 2020 championship for the Dutch GP. Unfortunately for this one, I don't have the lap from qualifying. I must have deleted it or something happened to it because I couldn't find it. But it was a wet qualifying, as you see in the background. I just did a lap in the wet in time, tried to have something to talk over now. But qualified on pole position by a little over 2 tenths. For the feature race, I'll leave the grid rundown to run through so you can see the qualifying positions. But with that, let's head into the race.
It looks like it could be a tense round of the championship here as we prepare to get today's race underway.
Four lefts and 10 rights make up the 14 corners of the narrow and demanding Zandvoort circuit, with plenty of peaks and valleys over the course of the 2.6-mile lap, which will demand absolute concentration from our drivers here today. As the engineers make their last inspection of the cars, let's take a look at today's grid order for the race. Callum Ilott has a good view of turn 1 from his pole position slot, with Artem Markelov alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have De Ruyveler, Schwartzman, Pedro Piquet, and Dragovic, Joe, Schumacher, Sato, Luca Giotto, Armstrong, Samaya, Jack Aitken, and Matsushita, Lungard, Mazepin, Ticktum, and Yuki Tsunoda, Alesi, and Roy Nissany, Delatraz, and Sean Galeal completes the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
And as we wait for the lights to build up from pole position for the feature race, the lights go out and we get a pretty good initial launch, but the second phase of the start wasn't great. Markelov gets past us upper inside. Ruyveler from third tries to go around our outside, but we managed to stay ahead of him and lose just the one place to Markelov in the opening stages of the race. So now just want to try and stick with him in the DRS and see if we can make anything happen later on. Down to the end of lap 1, Markelov has managed to break out of DRS. We're just still staying ahead of Ruyveler. But on the end of lap 2 we set a new fastest lap and we've also broken out of the DRS of the car behind. On the start of lap 4 have a retirement. Lungard seems to have some sort of an engine failure, so that's unfortunate for him. But later on to lap 4, took a long time for it to happen, but the safety car is called out for Lungard's retirement, and this gives us the chance to pit for the hard tyre to make our mandatory pit stop. Surprised that Markelov hasn't decided to pit, because it's just a lot quicker to pit under the safety car, you lose a lot less time. A lot of other cars pit with us, but there's the top 10 decide to stay out. So we come out of pits in P11, but we are effectively in the lead of the race because we're the first car to have made our pit stop. So going to the end of lap 6, start lap 7, the safety car is in this lap. Get up really close behind Tsunoda so we can try and get past at the start. We get a good reaction, but we get stuck up behind Tsunoda, who sort of stalls our momentum, but into turn 1 Tsunoda sort of moves to the right under braking. We hit the back of him and we get some wing damage. So now we have to do these 12 laps with a yellow, almost orange wing damage, because Jeff has suggested to pit this lap for a new set of mediums and a repaired wing. But I was thinking that if I pit now, I'll pawn the new medium tyres, and then my sprint race will be ruined as well because I need those tyres for the sprint race that's going to follow. And if I pit, I'll have no chance of scoring any points in this race, so it's better to just try and stick it out with the damage, defend as much as I can and see what can happen. Towards the end of lap 9 now, there's a yellow flag behind us, so I don't need to worry about that. But the cars in front, this is the lap they're going to pit. Tsunoda for some reason takes it really slowly around the last corner, and we managed to get past him on the inside before he even gets into the pits. There was Sean Galeal who retired behind us. We weren't really fighting him anyway. but now we take the lead of the race ahead of Marcus Armstrong. But with the damaged front wing, it's going to be hard to try and stay ahead of the Kiwi. Going around the hairpin onto the middle of the RS straight, we touch the inside curve, which makes us get a very poor run and allows Armstrong to get alongside us. Goes down the inside into this chicane. We try and hold it to have the inside for the next part. We just about managed to stay ahead, I think. We have the outside for the second to last turn onto the banking. We just about stay ahead. We're still side by side. We make a small bit of contact, and for now we managed to stay ahead of the New Zealand driver. Into turn 1 we slightly defend, but Armstrong doesn't try and make a move on this occasion, and we remain in first position. Next lap, lap 13, into the last sector, we run wide in the exit of the hairpin. Pretty poor run towards the last 2 turns. Second last turn we run massively wide onto the curb, compromise our exit and run onto the main pitch straight, and with DRS and a better run from the last turn, Armstrong gets past us. Don't decide to defend because there's no point. Try to hold around the outside, but with the wing damage, Armstrong gets much better grip than us and slides past us. So we drop down into second place, Armstrong up into first. And now we just have to try and defend from the Ruvula. So a few laps later, we've dropped well out of the DRS of Armstrong, almost 2 seconds behind. At this stage, starting to lock up a lot with the wing damage and the worn tyres starting to take an effect on the performance of the car. But we're still managing to stay ahead of the train behind. A lot of cars stuck behind us, going very slowly with the wing damage compared to what we normally would be. But on to the last lap, managed to hold off the cars behind, even with the wing damage. Armstrong takes the win by over 5 seconds. Welcome home to take a very good recovery with second place.
Amazing race today, and a very well deserved one too. The team worked very hard to get exactly the right setup out of the F2 car. It works for them and the results speak for themselves. ARTGP winners today.
So Marcus Armstrong takes his first win of the season with me in second. Ruvula rounding out the podium. Schumacher, Giotto, Samaya, Matsushita, Delachaz the top 8, with Ryan Asani and Artem Markelov getting the final points in the feature race. So starting from P7 for the sprint, 5 red lights are on and they go out, and we get probably the best start we've had this season so far. Armstrong and Drugovic behind us do get better launches, and Armstrong down the inside into turn 1 gets up a position. We're down to 8, still side by side with Drugovic, but into this right hander we managed to just stay ahead of the Brazilian driver and only lose the 1 position at the start. Later on in that lap, into the chicane at the end of the DRS straight, we nearly run into the back of Armstrong, caught out by how early the AI were braking, get really loose, and we lose position to Drugovic and Markelov down into 10th. So not the best first lap we've had, but there's still a lot of laps left so we can try and recover. Next lap into the first sector hairpin, try to go around the outside of Markelov, couldn't really do anything there, but we get a good exit and are close behind the Russian driver for BWP race lap. Into the fast right hander, we go wide but we get a much better run through the exit, and we're right behind Markelov but can't make any move into any of those turns. Next lap we try again around the outside of hairpin but don't get anything in return there. Get a bit on the curb on the exit which ruins our run, so can't do anything really. Skipping on to lap 8 now, we're up into P7 behind Ruvula. We got past Markelov, Drugovic and Armstrong, but unfortunately had some recording issues and don't have the footage for that. But very dramatic pass on Armstrong as his engine blew up literally right in front of us. As you're going to see in the replay now, I managed to get the replay, but we just narrowly avoid the ART driver as his engine just decides to go pop as we're right behind him on the main pitch straight. On to lap 8 now, towards the end of lap 8. The two cars ahead of us, I think it's Giotto and Samaya pit, they must have had damage. So we're up into P4 as Daruvla and Schumacher go side by side into turn 1. We almost run into the back of the pair as they're still side by side through this right-hander into the hairpin. I go wide to try and see if I can get any sort of a good exit to get past either of them, but couldn't do anything on that occasion as we done that. Drugovic tried to have a look up my inside, but we remain in P4 for now. Lap later, onto lap 9, we get a much better exit onto the main pitch straight than Mick Schumacher, and with DRS we're side by side into turn 1, brake much later down the inside of the German, the champion of F2 in 2020 in real life. Now we're up into the podium with P2 well in range, and end of lap 10, start of lap 11. We get a much better run than Daruvla, like against Schumacher, and the Indian driver had no DRS, so it's an easy move around the outside of turn 1 as we set the fastest lap of the race on that lap as well. Now it's just Delachaz ahead of us. He's only 1.5 seconds ahead, so 2 laps left. There's still a good chance that we can win this race as Nobuharu Matsushita takes away our fastest lap. Towards the start of lap 12 now, we take back the fastest lap as we're in DRS range of Delachaz, just half a second behind the Shrews driver. And on to the last lap, we go in deep into the chicane, so that seems like it's any chance we have of passing Delachaz gone. But notice that the AI have been getting poor runs out of the last corner. They're not taking it flat out like I'm able to. And with the RS slipstream bare exit, it's going to be a drag race to the line. Tucked up in the slipstream, we pull to the outside, but Delachaz just gets there ahead of us, and we get another second place this weekend.
They're on their way out onto the podium now, and what a result this is. Popular one. Great stuff to see the Shrews team on top here today.
Delachaz takes the victory by less than a tenth from me in second place, with Daruvla rounding out the podium. Mick Schumacher, Drugovic, Markelov, Nissany and Piquet round out the points in the sprint race. Looking at the weekend results then, I take the most points this weekend with Armstrong in second, Daruvla in third, Schumacher with a good weekend in fourth position. But with that result, I take the lead of the Drivers' Championship over Armstrong, who's just 11 points behind, with Schumacher a few points further back in third. And with the result, UNI Virtuosi take the lead of the Teams' Championship. But with that, thanks for watching. Until tomorrow for the Spanish Grand Prix, I'll see you then.